Hey guys, it's Nigel here, and I thought I'd sit down and update you on this 180SX and everything that's happened to it over the last month. This is different to my last 180SX, which I still own, but you'll get the story as you go through the video. I filmed a heap of this stuff just for Instagram, and a heap of people were interested in the process of reshelling a car. So I thought I'd put a dedicated video together to take you through the process of what I've gone through over the last month. And I did this for the reason that I'm building this V8 S15 for the track, and I've got my two-tone S13 Silvia for the track as well. And I really just wanted a nice, neat car that I could drive on the street. Now with my 180SX, this was difficult because I'd campaigned this in drifting over the last 15 years, and I've drifted tracks all throughout Australia, and this comes with a fair bit of damage from either tapping walls or competitors tapping me, or me tapping competitors. And over those years I'd tubbed the front, tubed the front, beaded those rear quarters out many times, cut the lips out to run larger tyres, had tyres explode and take body panels off, so the shell was really past what I could bring it back to for the street. So that involved me sort of searching on the internet, and I ended up finding a shell that I could use for this car, which was in my price range, which was in my area, which was luckily just painted red. So I quickly bought this, picked it up, and I'm going to go through some of the footage and throw this up on the screen so that you can see it too. So when I was looking for a fresh shell, I was looking at all considerations, but what I really wanted was a set of metal rear fenders that were fairly untouched. I didn't mind if they were rolled. In fact, it was a bonus if they were rolled so that I could fit these wide wheels under it. But I really didn't want them to be all wrecked from obviously drifting abuse. I wanted an engine bay that was all factory sheet metal. I wanted the battery tray. I wanted the pop-up headlights. I wanted all the motors to be intact. I wanted enough interior that I didn't have to source too many parts because these are getting quite expensive now. I wanted all factory body looms so that I could plug all the bits and pieces into it, and I didn't have to adapt or wire too many things. I had a lot of parts lying around, so I wasn't too worried about any of the driveline. I put my S15 steering rack, cross member, lower control arms, knuckles. I had some aftermarket tie rods, had some aftermarket caster arms. Inside, I was really happy that it had the climate control, the digital climate control setup, so that I could use that in this car. I still don't have air conditioning, and I probably won't run it, but at least everything's there so that I could put it back in. What was a bit of a drama with this car was just everything was perished and old and really difficult to get in and out without braking. The dash was quite worn out in it, so obviously I was using the dash out of my track car, which I hadn't cut. I hadn't put any holes in, so that was perfect for this. But I was able to electronically fix all of the little issues with this car, get the windows working, get the mirrors working. Here we've got some issues with rats. So once I was at the point that I had this chassis ready to go for all of my parts, I could go and pick my track car up from the storage area where I had it, and then start bringing it home and getting it ready for disassembly and reassembly into this shell. So there's a lot of parts on this track car that were in really good condition. The motor has been making 255 real kilowatts for pretty much the last 10 years without a single drama. I've always looked after everything. It's always had fresh oil. I've always maintained everything at a level where it uses genuine parts, and it uses parts that in this day and age probably aren't suited for drifting. They're more suited to the street, and that's why I wanted to adapt everything into this car. So I hung the motor in the engine bay and then was able to jack it up on my hoist to get to everything. Once the motor was in, I could turn my attention to all the other little bits and pieces. I found way more rat poo behind the dash, which was good because I could definitely smell it somewhere. and that gave me a chance to clean out all of that, swap the dash over to the uncracked one. This is the first fire up, and an exciting time for me to hear my track car motor in a street car shell, and it runs as perfect as ever. I had to clean up a few things on my modified motor loom. This runs a Power FC Z32 airflow meter TD06 turbo. Because my track car had all the tube front end that I'd fabricated for it, I needed to adapt a new intercooler into the car, so I quickly made one of these up. Ran some new tubing to my existing turbo position, and then adapted all of my original parts and tried to make everything adapt into the chassis without cutting anything, which was different for me because I'm a big fan of cutting things, but with this car I've got to be reserved. Batteries in the original position, which I'm stoked about. I could put the coilovers into this chassis, which are original drift sliding way winding masters or something of that effect, but always been a really good coilover, and they're sprung just right for a full weight 180SX. And I do plan on drifting this every now and then, but just not to the level of what I previously did with the other chassis, because this one I want to maintain all the factory sheet metal. So once the track car shell was pulled apart and stripped of everything that I needed for the street car, I could take that back to storage, and it's rolling and in storage and essentially ready to go drifting again should I find another driveline and bits and pieces to put that back on track. I'd had a genuine hot road body kit for this 180SX sitting in the shed for a while, and you've probably seen it in a bunch of my photos. It's something that I was looking forward to running, but didn't want to run it on my track car because I didn't want to explode it. I put a 3-inch muffler in the exhaust to just deepen the note, and this did a really good job. How good does it sound? So I put my Bride seats in the car. I've got my RB25 transmission behind the SR20, and I've changed the shifter so that it doesn't require any cutting of the factory sheet metal to sit up through the factory position. And then it was time to work on the factory guards that I'd been running on my my drift car. Now these were well worn out by tyre wear because I run my cars so low. So these required a real clean up before going on the track car. So what I did, I got some 5mm solid bar, rolled this into shape, and then TIG welded it into the guard lip, and then rolled the guards a little wider than what they were previously, and then TIG welded these into the guard, smoothed them out with a slight skim of bog, and then painted them. And I just got the colour matched to the colour that the car was painted. It wasn't exactly spot on, but it's close enough for me. And I set up my own little spray booth and painted all of the body kit, the front guards, and all of the bits and pieces that I needed to put onto this car. And now it's ready to go. So let's roll it out into the driveway, and I'll give you a closer look at the finished product, or basically the finished product. Obviously a car's never finished, but I'm really proud with how it sits, so let's check it out.